I'm Kelly, 28F, and I've been best friends with Mia, 29F, since we were in elementary school. Our friendship began on the first day of third grade when we both showed up wearing the same purple butterfly shirt. We giggled about it all day, and by recess, we were inseparable. We've been through everything together: first crushes, awkward middle school dances, high school drama, college stress, you name it. Mia and I have always been different in many ways, which I think is part of why we've stayed friends for so long. She's always been the organized, punctual one, while I've been more of a free spirit. In high school, she was the one who kept our group project on track, while I was the one who came up with creative ideas but often forgot to bring my part of the materials. In college, she was the one who color-coded her planner and never missed a deadline, while I was pulling all-nighters to finish papers I'd procrastinated on. This difference in our personalities caused some friction over the years. I can't count the number of times Mia waited for me at a coffee shop or restaurant, tapping her foot impatiently as I rushed in 20 or 30 minutes late, full of apologies. She'd roll her eyes, but she always forgave me. It became a running joke in our friend group: Kelly time was always at least 15 minutes behind everyone else's. But about 3 years ago, I had a wake-up call. I was late to an important job interview, and despite my qualifications, I didn't get the position. The interviewer was kind enough to give me some feedback, and she mentioned that my tardiness had been a significant factor in their decision. It hit me hard. My inability to manage my time wasn't just annoying my friends anymore, it was affecting my future. That's when I decided to make a change. I bought a planner. Mia was thrilled when I asked her for recommendations, set multiple alarms on my phone, and even started seeing a therapist to work on my organizational skills and understand why I struggled so much with time management. It wasn't easy. I had to rewire years of bad habits and really examine some of my behaviors. But slowly, I started to improve. Mia was incredibly supportive during this process. She celebrated my small victories with me, like when I made it to brunch on time 3 weeks in a row. She helped me develop strategies to stay organized and even bought me a beautiful watch for my birthday that year, saying, "Now you have no excuse to be late." Her encouragement meant the world to me. For the past 2 years, I've rarely been late to anything. If there was a genuine reason, like unexpected traffic or a work emergency, I always made sure to communicate clearly and apologize. Mia often commented on how proud she was of my growth, and I felt like I had finally overcome this flaw that had caused so many issues in the past. When Mia got engaged to Tom, 31M, last year, I was over the moon for her. I'd watched their relationship blossom from their awkward first date, where Tom spilled coffee all over himself, to the beautiful partnership they have now. Mia called me screaming with excitement the night Tom proposed, and I cried happy tears with her over the phone. A week later, Mia asked me to be her maid of honor. We were having our weekly coffee date, and she slid a little gift box across the table to me. Inside was a beautiful bracelet with a little card asking, "Will you be my maid of honor?" I accepted without hesitation, hugging her tightly right there in the middle of the cafe. I threw myself into my maid of honor duties with enthusiasm. I helped Mia choose her dress, organized her bachelorette party, a weekend spa getaway that was a hit with all the bridesmaids, and was there for every cake tasting and flower arrangement decision. I even learned how to bustle her dress, practicing for hours with a YouTube tutorial and an old sheet so I'd be ready on the big day. Everything was going smoothly until about 2 months before the wedding. Mia had scheduled a final dress fitting, and I was supposed to be there with the other bridesmaids. That morning, I woke up early, eager to be on time. But when I went to start my car, it wouldn't turn over. I tried everything I could think of, but it was dead. Panicking, I immediately called an Uber. But as luck would have it, there had been a multi-car pileup on the highway and traffic was at a standstill. I watched the minutes tick by on my watch, the one Mia had given me, feeling sick to my stomach as I realized I was going to be late. I texted Mia explaining the situation and that I'd be about 20 minutes late. I apologized profusely and told her to start without me if needed. She didn't respond, but I figured she was busy with the fitting. When I finally arrived at the bridal shop, I rushed in, already forming an apology on my lips. But the scene I walked into was not what I expected. Mia was standing there in her wedding dress, looking beautiful but furious. The other bridesmaids were awkwardly looking at the floor or their phones. Before I could even explain further, Mia exploded. She accused me of falling back into my old habits and said she couldn't trust me to be reliable on her big day. She brought up incidents from years ago, times I'd been late in high school and college. It was like all the progress I'd made in the past few years meant nothing. I tried to explain about my car and the traffic, but Mia wasn't listening. She told me I was no longer her maid of honor and asked me to leave. I was shocked and hurt, but I left without arguing to avoid causing more of a scene. Over the next few days, I tried to reach out to Mia to talk things through, but she ignored my calls and messages. I even wrote her a long email explaining everything in detail and apologizing again, but I got no response. Then, a week later, I received a text from her saying she thought it would be best if I didn't attend the wedding at all. She said my presence would be too stressful for her and that she wanted to focus on the positive aspects of her day. I was devastated. This was my best friend of over 20 years, and she was shutting me out over one incident that wasn't even my fault. I respected her wishes and didn't attend the wedding, but I'm heartbroken and angry. Some of our mutual friends have been telling me I should have tried harder to make amends, that I should have shown up at the wedding anyway to support Mia. But I feel like I've been treated unfairly. This one instance doesn't negate all the effort I've put into changing and being a good friend. Ida for not attending the wedding? Should I have pushed harder to make things right, or was I right to respect her decision even if I disagree with it? Edit. Thank you all for your responses. I'm overwhelmed by the support and advice. To address some common questions. 1. Yes, this is the first time I've been late to anything wedding related. I've been on time or early to every other event. 2. Mia didn't have any major issues with my timekeeping in the last couple of years. She's commented positively on my improvement several times. 3. I've known Tom for about 5 years, since he and Mia started dating. We've always gotten along well, but we're not particularly close. I'll post an update when I have more information or if anything changes. Update 1. It's been about a month since the wedding, and a lot has happened. I want to thank everyone for their support and advice. It really helped me gain perspective on the situation. A week after the wedding, I received a long email from Mia. She apologized for her reaction and explained that she had been under immense stress due to family issues I wasn't aware of. Apparently, her parents were going through a messy divorce, and they had been fighting about attending the wedding together. This added a lot of tension to the wedding planning process. This news hit me hard. Mia's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Chen, had always seemed like the perfect couple to me. I remember spending countless weekends at their house in high school, Mrs. Chen always baking cookies for us while Mr. Chen helped us with our math homework. They'd been married for over 30 years, and I never saw them fight or even disagree. To hear that they were divorcing, and so acrimoniously, was shocking. Mia admitted that she took out her frustration on me unfairly. She said she regretted her decision to uninvite me and that she missed having me there on her big day. While I appreciated her honesty, I was still hurt by her actions. I took some time to process her email before responding. I thought back to all the times Mia had been there for me, like when my first serious boyfriend cheated on me in college and she stayed up all night with me, eating ice cream and watching terrible rom-coms. Or when I was struggling to find a job after graduation and she helped me revamp my resume and practice for interviews. Mia had always been my rock, and it pained me to think our friendship could be fractured like this. In my response, I told her that while I understood she was under stress, her reaction was disproportionate and hurtful. I explained how much effort I had put into changing my habits over the years and how much it meant to me to be her maid of honor. I also pointed out that true friendship should be able to withstand misunderstandings and give the benefit of the doubt. I shared a memory from our sophomore year of college, when I had a major panic attack before a big presentation. Mia had talked me through it, breathing with me and reminding me of all the times I'd succeeded in the past. I told her that's what I had expected from her during the wedding planning, understanding and support, not immediate condemnation. Mia suggested we meet up to talk things through in person. We agreed to meet at Rosie's, the little coffee shop where we'd spent countless hours studying in high school and college. It felt fitting to return there to try and mend our friendship. When I walked into Rosie's, the familiar smell of coffee and cinnamon rolls brought back a flood of memories. Mia was already there, sitting at our usual corner table. She looked tired and a bit nervous, very different from the radiant bride I had expected her to be a month after her wedding. The conversation was emotional and difficult at times, but I feel like we both got to express our feelings openly. Mia shared more details about her family situation. Her parents' divorce had turned ugly, with disputes over their shared business and even custody of their dog. Mia had been caught in the middle, trying to mediate between them while also planning her wedding. She admitted that she had been so focused on having a perfect wedding that she lost sight of what really mattered, the people she cared about. I told her how hurt I was by her lack of trust in me and how quickly she had jumped to conclusions. We talked about our long friendship and how we supported each other through tough times in the past. I reminded her of the time in college when she forgot about a group project and I stayed up all night to help her finish it. I had given her the benefit of the doubt then, and I wish she had done the same for me. By the end of our conversation, we both agreed that we wanted to work on rebuilding our friendship. However, I made it clear that it would take time for me to fully trust her again. The hurt of being excluded from her wedding day, a day we had talked about and planned for years, wasn't going to disappear overnight. Mia understood and said she was willing to put in the effort to regain my trust. She suggested we start small, maybe have a movie night next week, just like we used to do in college. I agreed, feeling a mix of hope and apprehension. As we were leaving Rosie's, Mia hesitated and then pulled out her phone. She showed me a photo from her wedding, a group shot of her with all the bridesmaids. "It felt wrong without you there," she said softly. "If I could do it over again, I would have you right here, next to me, where you've always been." I felt tears prick my eyes as I looked at the photo, imagining where I would have stood. It was a bittersweet moment, a reminder of what I had missed, but also a step towards healing. We hugged goodbye, and as I walked to my car, I felt a complex mix of emotions. I was glad we had talked things through, but I also knew that our friendship had changed. It would take time and effort to rebuild what we had lost. I'm cautiously optimistic about the future of our friendship, but I'm also being realistic. I know it will take time to heal from this experience. I'm proud of myself for standing up for my feelings and not rushing to forgive just for the sake of keeping the peace. As I drove home, I found myself thinking about all the milestones Mia and I had shared over the years: first days of school, graduations, new jobs, breakups, and makeups. Her wedding was a big one to miss, but maybe, just maybe, we could create new milestones together as we rebuild our friendship. Thank you all again for your support. I'll update again if there are any significant developments. Update 2. It's been about 3 months since my last update, and I wanted to share some developments in the situation with Mia. We've been slowly rebuilding our friendship, starting with small hangouts like our movie nights and coffee dates. It's been nice to reconnect, but I've noticed that things still feel a bit strained at times. We're both trying, but there's an undercurrent of tension that we can't seem to shake. Our movie nights have become a weekly tradition again. We take turns choosing the film, just like we used to in college. Last week, Mia chose Bridesmaids, and I couldn't help but feel a twinge of sadness. I wondered if she was trying to send a message or if it was just an unfortunate coincidence. I didn't say anything, not wanting to disrupt the fragile peace we've established. We've also been meeting for coffee at Rosie's every other weekend. It's comforting to be back in our old haunt, but sometimes the weight of everything that's happened sits heavily between us. We chat about work, our families, and mutual friends, but we both seem to be tiptoeing around certain topics. Last month, Mia invited me to a small gathering at her place, a dinner party with some of our mutual friends. I was hesitant at first, but I decided to go. When I arrived, I realized that most of the people there were mutual friends who had attended the wedding. It felt a bit awkward, especially when someone would bring up a funny moment from the reception or mention how beautiful the ceremony was. I found myself retreating to the kitchen more often than necessary, helping with dishes or pretending to look for something in the fridge just to escape the conversation. At one point, I overheard 2 friends whispering, wondering why I hadn't been at the wedding. It stung to realize that not everyone knew what had happened between Mia and me. During the dinner, Mia's new husband, Tom, pulled me aside. He apologized for not reaching out sooner and said he had disagreed with Mia's decision to uninvite me from the wedding. He mentioned that it had caused some tension between them in the weeks following the wedding. I appreciated his honesty, but it also made me wonder about the dynamics in their new marriage. Tom shared that he had always valued my friendship with Mia and how much he had talked about me during their dating years. He seemed genuinely upset about how things had unfolded and expressed hope that Mia and I could fully reconcile. While it was nice to hear his perspective, it also made me feel like an outsider in a story I should have been a part of. After the dinner party, I found myself feeling conflicted. On one hand, I was glad to be included again and to see our friends. On the other hand, I couldn't shake the feeling of being an outsider, of having missed a significant event in all of their lives. It was like everyone else had a shared experience that I wasn't part of, and it created an invisible barrier. I decided to have an honest conversation with Mia about how I was feeling. We met up for coffee at Rosie's last week, and I explained that while I appreciated her efforts to make amends, I was still struggling with the hurt and disappointment from being excluded from her wedding. I told her that being around our friends who shared those memories was more difficult than I had anticipated. Mia listened attentively and said she understood. She admitted that she had been trying to include me more but hadn't considered how hearing about the wedding might affect me. She suggested that maybe we needed to create new memories together, ones that didn't revolve around the wedding or our past issues. Then Mia proposed an idea that took me by surprise. She suggested that we take a weekend trip together, just the 2 of us, to reconnect and hopefully move past this rough patch in our friendship. She mentioned a small beach town about 3 hours away that we had always talked about visiting but never got around to. The idea of a weekend away with Mia brought up mixed feelings. Part of me was excited at the prospect of having uninterrupted time to rebuild our friendship. But another part was wary. Would a weekend away really solve our problems, or was it just a band-aid on a deeper issue? And was I ready for that level of one-on-one time with her yet? I told Mia I'd think about her offer. As I left Rosie's that day, I found myself lost in memories of all the trips we'd taken together over the years: spring break in Florida, a post-graduation road trip, even a disastrous camping weekend where we got lost and ended up sleeping in the car. Those trips had always brought us closer, but this felt different somehow. I've decided to take some time to think about it. In the meantime, I'm focusing on other friendships and my own personal growth. This experience has taught me a lot about setting boundaries and valuing myself in relationships. I've been spending more time with other friends, particularly my coworker Alex, 27F. She's been a great listener throughout this whole situation, offering a fresh perspective and reminding me that it's okay to prioritize my own feelings. Last weekend, we went to a pottery class together, something I've always wanted to try but never got around to. It felt good to do something just for me, to create something new without the weight of past expectations. I've also been thinking a lot about what I want from my friendships going forward. The situation with Mia has made me realize how much I value consistency and trust in my relationships. I'm working on being more open about my feelings and needs, rather than always trying to be the easygoing one. As for the trip with Mia, I'm still undecided. Part of me thinks it could be a turning point in rebuilding our friendship. But another part worries that it might be too much, too soon. I keep wondering, if we go on this trip and it doesn't magically fix everything, where does that leave us? I'll update again once I've made a decision about the trip and if anything significant changes in our friendship dynamic. Thank you all for your continued support and advice. It's been incredibly helpful in navigating this complicated situation. Update 3. It's been about 6 months since my last update, and I wanted to share the conclusion to this situation. After much consideration, I decided to accept Mia's offer of a weekend trip. We went to that small beach town we'd always talked about visiting. As we drove there, I felt a mix of nervousness and hope. The first day was a bit awkward, with both of us tiptoeing around certain topics. We spent most of the day walking on the beach and exploring the town, making small talk about the quaint shops and the unseasonably warm weather. But as we relaxed and spent more time together, we started to open up. On the second night, we decided to have dinner at a small seafood restaurant right on the beach. As we sat there, watching the sunset over the ocean, Mia suddenly said, "I miss us." Those 3 words broke the dam, and we found ourselves talking more openly than we had in months. We moved to the beach after dinner, sitting on the sand as the stars came out. Mia admitted that she had taken me for granted over the years and that the wedding incident made her realize how much she valued our friendship. She talked about the stress she'd been under with her parents' divorce and wedding planning, but acknowledged that it wasn't an excuse for how she treated me. I shared my feelings of hurt and betrayal, and how the experience had made me question the foundation of our relationship. I told her how hard it had been to miss her wedding, a day we'd talked about and planned together since we were teenagers. I explained that while I understood she was under stress, her lack of trust in me had deeply wounded our friendship. We both cried, laughed, and ultimately agreed that while we couldn't erase what happened, we could choose how to move forward. We made a pact to be more honest with each other, to communicate our feelings more openly, and to not let small misunderstandings escalate into big problems. The rest of the trip felt lighter somehow. We spent the next day revisiting some of our old favorite activities, building sandcastles like we used to at summer camp, trying to body surf in the waves, and failing miserably, and staying up late talking about everything and nothing. Since returning from the trip, things have been different, in a good way. We've been more intentional about our friendship, checking in with each other regularly and being more understanding of each other's lives and commitments. When I had a minor car accident last month, Mia was the first person I called, and she came to pick me up without hesitation. It reminded me of why we became friends in the first place. Last week, Mia surprised me by organizing a small do-over celebration with our close friends. It wasn't a wedding, but it was her way of including me in a special moment and creating new, positive memories together. She had even ordered a cake with Maid of Honor written on it, which made me laugh and tear up at the same time. It was a touching gesture that meant a lot to me. While our friendship isn't exactly the same as it was before, in many ways, it's stronger. We've learned valuable lessons about communication, forgiveness, and the importance of not taking each other for granted. We're more honest with each other now, more willing to address issues head-on instead of letting them fester. I'm glad I didn't give up on our friendship, but I'm also proud of myself for standing up for my feelings and setting boundaries. This experience has taught me a lot about myself and what I value in relationships. I've learned that it's okay to expect more from my friends, and that true friendship can withstand challenges and come out stronger on the other side. As for the future, Mia and I are planning another trip next year, this time with a group of our friends. It feels like a new chapter in our friendship, one where we're both more mature, more understanding, and more appreciative of each other. Thank you to everyone who followed this journey and offered support and advice along the way. Your insights helped me navigate this difficult situation and come out stronger on the other side. If there's one thing I've learned from all of this, it's that relationships, even the longest, Strongest friendships require work, honesty, and a willingness to forgive and grow together.